What are pattern games? Pattern games are simple, socially driven rule structures that provide a predictable framework for environmental exposure. What are rule structures? Rule structures are sets of very ritualized, predictable rules that the dog can learn to depend on. This will build trust and confidence in the dog because he doesn't have to feel uncertain about what's going to happen next. Rule structures are beloved by dogs, whether they're warriors or not. They like to feel like they're in on it. They know what's going on, and they like to be able to predict the next thing that happens. Pattern games are an easy way to provide regular feedback and two-way communication between the dog and the handler. The conversation implied in these games is always, yes, something may be happening over there, but you and I are engaged in something together here, so you don't have to worry about the other stuff. The structure of these games creates a pattern, or you could think of it as a rhythm that engages the dog when your timing is accurate, so that they lose interest or become desensitized to an outside stimulus in their environment as they are caught up in the game with you. This is why I'm always telling my students, keep the rhythm going, and I snap at them, keep the rhythm going. If you lose your rhythm, you could easily lose your dog. Within the safety of the game, the dog is empowered to make good behavioral choices on his own and be rewarded for them. Who are these games meant for? These games are great for puppies that are just learning foundation training, dogs that need any kind of focus work, be it on leash or off leash, dogs that are getting ready for sports training or some type of work that requires a lot of handler focus in a difficult environment, dogs who are reactive, vigilant, or anxious about their environment, dogs who are afraid of their environment. Your dog's specific triggers, such as people, other dogs, or objects, can be added at a distance once the dog is comfortable with the framework of the pattern game. Once they have practice using the ritualized structure of these games, people can start to generalize their practice in clicking for a decision with confidence out in the real world. Okay, my Border Collie Easy is going to demonstrate the up and down game. He's ready to demonstrate it. He hasn't actually done it before. He doesn't care. This game is going to help me work on my timing to click him for reorienting to me once I've thrown the treat on the ground. He's offering backing up. I'm going to start by just putting it close by, but I can end up putting it farther away to make it a little bit harder. Get it. Get it. So even though he's offering other behavior, the piece that I'm attempting to just click is the looking up at me. So the second that head lifts from the ground, I'm trying to catch it.
So when I reward her for looking up at me, that's the treat that's going to go on the ground, that's going to be what pulls her head away so she can look again?
Yes, the reason that we're putting it on the ground is because then we're setting her up to repeat the behavior that caused the click, and then we're putting it back on the ground.
Okay, so the reward delivery will be...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So keep it right by your feet so it's just like up, down. She's like in front and it's just up, down from a front position. Because the one that we're going to do next, we're going to purposely move her
away,
side to side. So we want to just start like this. So it's important for this game that you manage to get ahead of your dog. That may mean sprinkling a couple treats or tossing one a little bit behind you, not trying to torture him, it just looks like that, so that you can really get your 2 steps in. That way, you're setting them up to reorient, and you can click the reorienting. So now that I'm going to work with a couple of students' dogs, I've put my ring gates back up. This is part of a familiar rule structure that these dogs know, that they practice in here and what happens outside the gates isn't going to bother them. That way, they can start to desensitize to dogs and other things happening outside the gates, and eventually we'll fade the gates. I'm going to have my student Laura work with her beautiful English Shepherd, Mabel. How old is Mabel?
She's almost 2.
She's almost 2, nearing social maturity. Mabel is brilliant. She's a bit dog reactive, and that's what Laura is practicing with. So just what? Yes. So that was a good one because it took her a second to find that treat so we could stare at her head, which is what we want to do, and really catch that moment. In order to introduce Mabel to the concept of now we're adding a dog into this space, as long as she's just doing little glances and she's not stuck. See how she's just doing nice little glances? That means I'm going to keep moving forward. If she starts to stare at him, I'm not going to keep moving forward because that says to me, oh, over threshold point. Good. But see, she's just doing this now as a trick. She's just offering looking towards him. And you see, tiny? So that means she's okay with us coming closer. She's not, that worried. She's, aw. And especially if they're playing look at that and they add in another trick, they're feeling, comfortable enough. So you can go on your mat now.
Hi, I'm Susie. I have a dog named Beans. He's just over a year. He's a little pit bull. You'll see him in a second. I got him when he was about 8 months old. He was a rescue, and right from the start recognized that he was fearful around new people, strangers, and it would manifest in barking, a little bit of lunging, trying to get away, those types of things. Once he got comfortable with people, he was very friendly, but the initial greeting has always been really hard, especially if it's a sudden appearance of a person, let's say, if we're out and about. So I wanted to work on that.
Good job. But he's still watching the camera. And honestly, I think what I'm going to do when we feel like he's ready is maybe just take a gate down so that you're walking by the camera with a little bit
closer.
Less.
Sure. Actually, and when you just started to move, he did take a look over at you.
Okay. Well, so why don't we start with that, and I'll just move a little bit. The art of training lies in being creative and flexible. Once we've established the parameters of a given rule structure, such as the pattern game, we can then plug pieces of the environment into the structure. Our message then to the dog is, seeing whatever triggers you or interests or excites you is just part of a game that you're playing with mom or dad.